Hello and welcome to Don't Bury the Lead. We watch WWE SmackDown every Friday night and recap after the bell, but we got a special episode today. We are talking cheap heat before WWE SummerSlam. A segment we do here with Cheap Heat is essentially just trending topics, and we'll make short clips of the videos. So we're doing it live. You're getting the big, long live stream of the Cheap Heat, and then eventually these will be shorts and short videos. So my name is John Zindel. Dom, go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Hey, this is a first for me and a first for us. We're going to do a little bit of a preview on the day of a tremendous premium live event here, SummerSlam. So we're going into cheap heat, but we're still don't bury the lead. So John, don't bury the lead. What's the top thing you want to talk about from around the world of wrestling news here?
Kind of interesting, but it's not WWE related. I
Okay.
saw a headline and saw some articles here that it looks like AEW, their Wembley show, All In, is expected to break the all-time all-time record for live attendance at a wrestling show. So this was set by the WWE with WrestleMania in 2016 at the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. I think it's AT&T, it might be called.
Sure.
So that is the old record, but AEW is at 75,000 ticket sales. 79,000 is the record, and the capacity is 87,000 at Wembley. So they only need 5,000 more tickets sold, and they already sold 75,000 to break the record.
How big of a deal is this that it's occurring overseas? We know the WWE, their most recent pay-per-view premium live event was Money in the Bank from London. And they were trying to talk up how you're not only are they the biggest in the US, but they have this huge following in the UK. AEW hasn't been able to match WWE in the US, but it looks like AEW is on equal footing with them across the pond, as they say. You watch a lot of AEW. What's your take on them being a real rivalry, even more so in the US, apparently over in the UK?
Yeah. Kudos to Tony Khan for thinking outside the box here and saying, let's do a huge show at Wembley and accomplishing it.
Are you surprised?
Yeah, I'd say 75,000 for sure is insane considering their numbers are usually like 10, 15,000 in the lot. They whenever I've seen them, they've run smaller stadiums. Now they have done the Prudential Center in Newark, and that
Okay.
was sold out, and that's a big stadium. But whenever they're in Philly, they go to Temple's College and the Leocore Center, and that's got about 10,000 people. And the shows are cool, but they're not as big as the WWE's typically from an attendance standpoint. I'm not terribly surprised though, because there are a ton of people in the UK that love pro wrestling. So
Okay.
because of that, seeing that they're having such a big show, not a huge surprise that they're drawing.
Well, I'm glad. I like competition. You know me. I like, open markets, fair competition. I think it's good for sports. I think it's good for entertainment. I think it's good for wrestling. Even though I'm not an AEW watcher, I think it's great for them. And I think it's potentially great for the WWE to have that kind of competition.
Yeah, for sure. They're both just kind of helping each other out. And I think when you had WWE like for years and years as being the only show in town, they took
Hmm.
their foot off the pedal a little bit
Yeah.
because they just started trying to expand to India. They're trying to do all kinds of wacky stuff. The creative wasn't so hot. I mean, 2019 was brutal. I think I just kind of like stopped watching around then. I was like, I can't watch this anymore. So, ultimately with AEW here and a legitimate contender or a legitimate number two, I'd say. And at this point, the biggest live show ever. I mean, that sounds like number one to me, right? So I think it's only going to help both programs.
All right. Well, staying on sort of the AEW and WWE crossover here, got some stuff from Cody Rhodes here. A great article in comicbook.com revealing what would have been the end game of his heel run in AEW. And the article is interesting for a number of reasons. First of all, he talks about trying to, as a guy who came up during the John Cena era, where a star could be polarizing and still be important. He was trying to play into that during the end of his AEW run, and he thought that it would have resulted in a feud with, of all people, Sting, one of his boyhood heroes, who is clearly, just saying that Sting is much older. Cody Rhodes is in his prime. As much as this would be interesting from a fantasy booking point, as an AEW fan, would you have wanted to see Cody Rhodes get in there in his prime with the Sting, who clearly is not in his prime?
It's interesting because I wonder what Sting could do as an old man. Could he adjust his style thus that he could wrestle an at least okay match?
Right.
Good question. And I would hope that he's savvy enough. And I think it's mostly guys just being able to adjust their style as they get older.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been really cool because Sting is one of their big guys that they've had around. And he's done some tag stuff. And whenever he's in the tag matches, he does exactly what he's supposed to do. And I think so far his run's actually been pretty good in AEW.
Okay. Well, good to hear. See, I'm an old time Sting fan, but I don't see much AEW, and you're a current AEW fan, so that's an interesting take you have there. How about Cody? Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
He is kind of plodding around in there, and he is wearing like full t-shirt at this point. Like
he's 60 something years old.
He's an old man. He's really, he's like a senior citizen.
Sure.
So like he's really old.
Yes.
But yeah, I think it would have been cool to perhaps see that. But yeah, Cody, I guess, ended up going to WWE. I think that's kind of worked out for him as well, that move. And we'll see if it ever culminates to him winning the title.
Right. Now, what do you think about his thing about his heel run and what he was trying to do? He thought he was getting maybe a little too meta in AEW. Like he was trying to be the tweener guy who people either loved or hated. And, he didn't mind that the crowd was split as long as they were reacting to him. Do you like that kind of thing? Where, it maybe not be clear heel face, but at least it's a reaction. Like everybody's into it, even if everybody doesn't agree.
It feels like WWE started to kind of head down that path where there were just gray bookings where like nobody's good or nobody's evil. And it's definitely like the direction movies go these days, where the people that are bad are somehow you're always rooting for them. Like it's always kind of in that direction, the anti-hero, if you will. But
then he comes to the WWE and he's clearly a baby face and he's having a great run, isn't he?
I think he's better positioned as just a baby face.
Yes. Mm-hmm. He was that originally in AEW. What happened? Do you know? Were you paying attention back then? Did you just get stale?
Stale. He got stale.
Okay. He's not stale in the WWE yet, is he? He's still hot.
I'd say, yeah, it seems like that. I don't know when it's going to wear off. I don't know. And I always joke about this. This is with kindness, but he is a Nepo baby. So he's always talking about how his dad was in the WWE and his dad wants him to win the title and all this stuff. So his Nepo baby streak is up there. But, ultimately, I'd have to say he's had a pretty good run.
We may get to a little more on that topic later. But, hey, just a fun thing here. Did you see Paul White, the Big Show? Is he still with AEW behind the scenes as a producer?
He has wrestled one match and he's still with them. I'm not really sure. He's not featured too prominently.
Okay, well, he apparently was giving an interview and he was talking about a Waffle House order of his. You could see sort of we're not playing the audio for you here, but you could see the closed captioning running up there. It's basically his famous Waffle House order was a double quarter cheese plate scattered, smothered, and covered. I don't know what that means. If you know what that means, go for it. A bowl of Burt's chili with cheese and onions. And then for dessert, he has a double pecan waffle afterwards. But what got me is, yeah, he's a large guy. I could see him eating all that. What got me was his choice of beverage: a cup of coffee and a Diet Coke. A Diet Coke? After all that, he's watching his calories? My goodness. Big Show, you're entertaining. We love you. But that just gave me a chuckle.
They are, yeah, Diet Coke is an odd choice
Poison.
after you're like 12, it says 12,000 calories in.
Right.
Time to just get the real Coke. You might as well.
Get there. It's better for you. At that point, have the real Coke. So now we said, you mentioned being a Nepo baby and guys who multi-generation stars. How about Dominic Mysterio? He says he was blessed to skip NXT and learn directly from the WWE legends. Now, this article, I like it in some fashions. I don't like it in others. What do you think of him saying this? But also, what do you think of him just totally breaking kayfabe? He's supposed to be one of the great, annoying chicken heels that they have. And he's out here, basically praising all the stars he got to work with and he's like praising his father and the experience while on screen he's trashing his father specifically for being a pro wrestling dad. What do you make of this? We've talked and talked quite successfully on our streaming platforms about kayfabe or the lack thereof. What say you, my friend?
Yeah, not preferred.
Not preferred.
Not preferred from my perspective. But
Okay.
it is kind of interesting to hear that he went right from, instead of going into development in NXT, he went right up to the big times. I wonder if his dad had anything. I mean, I'm sure his dad had a lot to do with it. Signing an agreement with WWE, committing to them, especially with competitors like AEW. Like they could gobble up Rey Mysterio, and Vince really loves destroying competition. So I could see them being like, okay, part of the contract, Dom gets called up, but he struggled early on, and he was really stuck in a strange spot. But the new character's amazing. He's done a really good job. So
we don't. He doesn't have a match, I don't think, on SummerSlam tonight. But Judgment Day is running Raw the way Bloodline runs SmackDown almost. So he may be involved here. They all may be. But yeah, great character. But I'm with you. I don't. It's too soon while you're active to be breaking kayfabe, especially when you have such a great and polarizing persona. You can't go out and give interviews where you're, just trying to be the get along with everybody. Aw shucks. And we could even contrast that with Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman appearing on First Take with Stephen A. Smith on ESPN. They were not there really hamming it up, but they were in character, weren't they? You got to see this video, so did I. Roman Reigns, he's in character all the time. Now, fortunately, his character is just this confident alpha male guy. So that's almost perfect for Stephen A. Smith in First Take, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You saw this. What did you think of it? What did you think of him and Paul Heyman?
Heyman was fantastic.
Wasn't he?
He was, pretty crude. Some stuff he was saying. He talked
his character.
Yeah, he talked about Bobby the Brain Heenan. He's like, "Well, he's dead. I'm the greatest of all time. He's dead." And he's like, "Oh," and then Jimmy Hart's not dead, so that's proof there's no God. It was like, whoa. Dude.
Okie doke. You say so.
And he can get real dark and nasty sometimes. Heyman, he's got that. Mm-hmm. He's got something. It might be the New York City thing, or he's got something deep down inside where he can really act like a real bastard. And he did a great job on this. And he's on this ridiculous talk show on ESPN, and I think this is probably makes a little bit more sense. And I like that they're keeping kayfabe versus Dom Mysterio. He's talking to the Metro, which is a free newspaper. in the UK, like nobody's reading this thing. So
Well, we don't know that. Apparently, wrestling's huge in the UK.
yes, that is true. It's apparently huge. We don't know, but it's strange to really wait to break kayfabe so early in your career for the Metro. But I guess that's what they're kind of instructed to do. They want headlines no matter what. So
Yeah. How about maybe a lightning round of some cheap heat that has to do perhaps with tonight's show here, as we're kind of halfway previewing SummerSlam here. Seth Rollins says the sky's the limit for LA Knight. LA Knight getting some more love from a guy who knows a thing or two about being a star in the WWE. What do you think of Seth Rollins saying this? Do you agree with him? What's your take on Seth Rollins here, not only just LA Knight?
well, I'm not gonna lie. We have been pushing LA Knight like crazy on this channel. We're pretty much the LA Knight channel. And I agree because we have been watching Raw and excuse me, SmackDown, and some of the segments are not so good. But LA Knight has been great. And I guess this is kind of good. I don't mind them. Like, I don't really think this is breaking kayfabe because he is a babyface, so he should be like propping people up.
Sure.
Um, you should find ways to prop people up even if you're a heel, but it's good that they're propping someone up within the company, and I would agree with it. How about you? What do you think? What's your hot take?
It's almost too much. Like you get the sense that too many people are talking about LA Knight before he's actually been given a chance to do anything. I almost sense that it's overkill at this point. We'll see what happens in the SummerSlam Battle Royal tonight, sponsored by Slim Jim, where LA Knight's going to be performing. With this many people talking about LA Knight, he's got to do something. He's got to win this tonight, doesn't he?
They keep dragging this out, and I don't know how long they're going to, where they're just not putting him over. I would imagine. I mean, who else is even in this battle royale?
Sheamus, a few other people, Shinsuke Nakamura, a bunch of people they couldn't fit on the regular program. But whoever else is in this, LA Knight has to, they got to pull the trigger on him soon, right? Or they risk just the powder just getting damp and not being able to spark again.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. They did this for a while. I can remember years ago with Seth Rollins when he was a heel, but he was getting way over, and it just felt like, man, turn him face, turn him face. And then he started to get like stale, and then they turned him face, and it was like, man, you really had something like, but they just drug out the heel thing, and they didn't turn him. They didn't turn him. So
I didn't know that. So maybe Seth Rollins is really a good guy to speak to this. Okay, that puts it in a different perspective. I like that. Someone else you asked who's going to be in this battle royal? The Miz. I hope the Miz doesn't win, but I appreciate what the Miz is and what he does with his character. Hulk Hogan apparently is a fan of the Miz. He says he gets it. He gets pro wrestling as an art form. And Hulk Hogan, for whatever you think of his in-ring abilities, he certainly is a guy who gets pro wrestling as an art form and did for many decades. So maybe the Miz is there tonight. Something else, we talking about sponsorships there with Slim Jim. Apparently, WWE has entered into a sponsorship with C4 Ultimate Energy Drink, a collection of energy drinks and pre-workout mixes. They found something for the Street Profits to do, which is good because we like the Street Profits as far as being good wrestlers. And it looked like they were getting buried on TV for a while, but they remain the Street Profits. Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins remain two of the company's best personalities and will be front and center in conjunction with the new C4 Ultimate Energy X WWE collection of energy drinks and pre-workout mixes. Logan Paul and Prime Energy. He makes that part of his gimmick, his matches sometimes. That's going to be a clash, isn't it? I mean, this is good for the WWE in the sense that they're getting sponsorships. But on the other hand, their sponsorships are kind of infringing a little on the product here, aren't they? Like we had to have a Mountain Dew pitch black match with Bray freaking Wyatt and LA Knight because they had to do the Mountain Dew pitch black.
it's interesting because we kind of talked about this before. We alluded to this before, where Logan Paul has a lot more leverage than most pro wrestlers ever have, where he
Mhm.
can just say, I want to just do whatever I want, and he's over, or he's somewhat over with the crowd. He has a lot more going on outside of pro wrestling where he doesn't need it necessarily at all, really.
Mhm.
And it's interesting to see them have this. You would, if you were just a regular wrestler, if you were Sheamus and you had your own energy drink and then they had a sponsor, guess what? You're not you're
You're
not
done.
gonna be able to promote your own stuff. Like, they've been very clear with that. They don't even let them do streaming anymore, or because
Okay.
those guys had their own side hustles and they pretty much put the kibosh on that with
Oh,
everyone
wow,
having
okay.
their own side hustles. They want them to work it into their, into the somehow make it part of WWE. So it would be interesting to see at this point what the deal is with Logan Paul, who has all this leverage. Is he just going to be like, well, I'm going to still do the Prime stuff? And what's the advertiser think of that then? This C4 Energy, where they're like, wait, so you're just going to have Prime on there anyway? Like,
Yeah,
what?
right, they pay all that money for it.
Yes. So interesting to see. I'm trying to think of other situations like this, but typically you will see even any major sport is sponsored by Enterprise. I know NHL was like all about Enterprise rental car was a
Okay,
huge sponsor of the NHL. You never saw like Hertz running alongside with it. It was always just
sure.
Enterprise. So
We got a couple of minutes here. Give me one hot take preview for tonight. I'll give you mine quickly. Roman Reigns and Jey Uso, something I'd like to see. It probably has no chance of happening, but I want to see it. Jey Uso's all alone, man. You know there's going to be a beatdown eventually. Guess who doesn't have anything to do at SummerSlam? Sami Zayn.
ah
Is someone coming out, especially with Kevin Owens injured really and on the shelf? Is anyone going to be able to save Jey Uso?
I have a hot take, and it's actually not related to the wrestling per se, but
Okay.
it's about Detroit, Michigan. Kid Rock was listed as the host of, this WWE SummerSlam. And I'm just like, man, they couldn't pull anybody else from Detroit. Kid Rock? It seems like that's kind of pretty bottom of the back, like kind of
It's old. He's a star, but it's old, right? He's not that contemporary.
no, it doesn't feel like. I mean, he is a big name, but he hasn't been around. Like, he hasn't released a notable single in like 20 years.
Yeah,
So it seems
he's
like kind of a strange thing. And even from musician standpoint, Eminem was way bigger than he was. And you think like you get an Eminem.
at his
Um,
peak. Yeah, right.
so you would think there would be a bigger name from Detroit, but apparently not. I don't know. Just think it's a
Kid Rock has had a connection with the WWE before. Is he a Hall of Famer, one of their entertainers in the Hall of Fame? He apparently he's had connections to WWE in the past, so maybe this just looked like a chance to rekindle that. But yeah,
maybe.
I'm with you. It's strange, if you're going to do celebrities, yes, Kid Rock is known with Detroit, but you couldn't find anybody more contemporary. No offense to Kid Rock, he's a big star, but what's the demo you're targeting when you bring up Kid Rock from an age standpoint, right?
What is the
It's us.
demo?
They're targeting us. We're already watching.
We're already watching. And I don't know that anybody really. I don't think he's looked very like fondly upon. It's not like he's multiple Grammy award-winning Kid Rock. Like, he made some pretty silly music that was for children. So I don't know that you would
He had a
really.
nice sensitive man duet with Sheryl Crow a few years ago.
Maybe that's it. I don't know. I've seen it. There's probably more bad than good takes about Kid Rock's music, but
Sure.
um,
Hey,
otherwise,
it's 8 p.m. I got to turn on Peacock.
well, we've got
I got to turn on Peacock. It's time for SummerSlam.
We've got 4 people from Facebook watching. We have a couple people on from different platforms. Thanks for joining. We just want to do a quick cheap heat here, and we'll be on after SummerSlam to recap. So join us after the show and enjoy SummerSlam. Thanks so much for joining, Dom. I appreciate it as always. See you tonight.
See you in a few hours, John.
All right. Take it easy.